Good morning, everyone. My name is Carissa Choco, and I will be going over your weather briefing today here on Thursday. We do have a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms today, as well as an excessive rainfall outlook, mostly for Southern Virginia and Northeast North Carolina tomorrow, and then it'll expand further north on Saturday. So first up, our weather pattern that we're going to be talking about. We have this upper level low pressure just to our west of our area that's causing this cold front to kind of head towards our area very slowly, mostly all throughout the eastern U.S. So that's going to be slowly moving towards our area today. So we're going to be very warm and humid, and there is a chance of afternoon and evening showers with that. Friday, that front is expected to pretty much move through our area, although it is expected to kind of lose its steam. So we're not expecting as many chances of showers or thunderstorms tomorrow. And then Saturday, we kind of get some more chances of rain as that front is just to our south or lingering over our area. And so we'll likely see some more embedded thunderstorms and showers as well. And then Sunday and Monday, we could still see some additional showers. As for our severe storm potential over the next 3 days, today is going to have the highest threat, although it is still just a marginal chance of seeing any severe thunderstorms. So only a few severe thunderstorms are possible, and the primary threat is going to be damaging wind gust with any storms. As for Friday and Saturday, there could be a few thunderstorms possible, but we're not expecting them to be severe at this time. To look further into the severe storm potential, our most likely timing is going to be 3 to 10 p.m. And the storms are most likely going to move from west to east, around 30 to 35 miles per hour. Again, we're not expecting a whole lot, although we could have some isolated gusts up to 60 miles per hour. As for the excessive rainfall outlook, today, basically our southern half of our area, so that's going to be Southeast Virginia, Northeast North Carolina, there could be a few instances of flash flooding with these scattered showers and thunderstorms. Looking more towards Saturday, we do see our entire area covered by that marginal risk of excessive rainfalls. But again, it's still just going to be a few instances of flash flooding are possible with these storms. And then Sunday, the outlook is very similar to the area today, maybe including Richmond as well, for a few instances of flash flooding. Our rainfall amounts through Saturday night. We could see 2 to 3 inches, primarily in Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. Overall, we are expecting primarily 1 to 2 inches for the majority of the area. And our precip timing on our map over here on the right side, you can see that most of that rain is, or our highest percentage chance of rain is actually going to be the majority of the day on Saturday. Kind of looking into the long-term forecast for Sunday through Wednesday night, that's when we're going to see some uncertainty that we'll talk about later with these tropical systems. But we could see an additional 1 to 2 inches for most of the area as well. As for our summary, our highest temperatures we're going to see over the next week is going to be today. Temperatures will then cool off and then become close to average or slightly below average for this time of year. Our minimum temperatures for the day are also going to be on a decline, starting off with today around upper 60s, so lower 70s, and then they'll gradually decline to near 50s by next Thursday. And again, that chance of rain is going to be highest pretty much Saturday and maybe Sunday. And then we get into some more uncertainty for next week, with just some slight chance showers. As for Tropical Storm Humberto, it is sustained now at 45 miles per hour. It is expected to move into this west-northwest movement and then more towards northwest. Right now, it is seeming like it is going to curve and stay offshore, but if it does that, it will still bring increased swell and rip current risk to the area, but we're not expecting this one to make any direct landfall impacts at this time, but we will continue to closely monitor. As for the entire tropical system outlook, we do have Hurricane Gabrielle that's going to continue to move offshore, not affecting land. And then down here we have NWS 94L. There is a lot of uncertainty with this, and like I mentioned before, our MIC Jeff Orrock is going to be talking more about this system and the possibilities here at the very end after I'm done talking, but we are closely monitoring this as well. As for our rip currents, we do have a moderate rip current for all of our beaches, as swell from Hurricane Gabrielle is still affecting the area. And we're expecting the rip current risk to decrease over the next couple of days, but it will likely increase this weekend and into early next week as well. Looking at our 8 to 14 day our 8 to 14 day outlook, maybe slightly above normal temperatures favored late next week, and near to maybe slightly above average precipes for this time of year as well. Switching our gears a little bit to the marine, we could see a few gusts close to small craft criteria tonight, mostly in the northern coastal waters, but overall the next couple of days we're not expecting there to be any marine hazard risk up until Monday night. That's with that uncertainty of that NWS 94L. And we could see small craft or any other sort of significant impacts as well. Like I mentioned, we do have low-end small craft criteria primarily in the northern coastal waters this evening and into early Friday, but then the winds are going to decrease from Friday into Saturday. And those winds right now are mostly going to be out of the south, maybe southwest a little bit, but those marine conditions are going to return Friday into most of the weekend. Then here's another look at the sustained versus wind gusts. As for our marine waves and seas, that is also going to be on a decline throughout the next couple of days, with this afternoon and evening being highest with 4-foot seas in the coastal waters this afternoon and tonight. With those 4-foot seas, we could occasionally see a 6-foot wave height. That's going to be one every 15 to 20 minutes in the coastal waters. But again, not too crazy. So that is all I have from my side. I'm going to now switch over to Jeff.
Okay. Hey, Krista, before you do that, you want to go back to your marine slide, the sustained versus the gust there? And hopefully folks can hear me okay. They should be able to. Yeah, so you can kind of see here, we're already kind of starting to try to capture. We're going to talk about this, but if any marine users are online, we're already starting to try to capture the winds there as you get into late Monday night, especially Tuesday, Wednesday. Even in our forecast now, you notice that you're starting to see maybe some winds getting close to gales, at least gale force gusts out there at maybe the Capes and out in the coastal waters. So our forecast is starting to capture it a little bit now. Still a lot of uncertainty, but I just wanted to highlight that since that is in our briefing, that those winds there are from whatever tropical type impacts we might be seeing. And that's actually going to be from Umberto. And we'll kind of get into that now. So yeah, I'll go ahead and if you want to give me a control over, Carissa, I'll go through the tropical. Make me the presenter. All right.
Okay, you should be good.
All right, should be seeing my screen there. Yeah, so I'm going to shift gears and we're going to dive into the tropical and just, without getting too technical, kind of explain the current situation. So we have Umberto here to the east. That's a well-defined system. You can definitely see some good circulation there with that system. So we'll talk about that. That's going to kind of be part of a player here, as well as NWS 94, which is sitting here near Puerto Rico. A little bit more uncertainty with this system, I would say, than with Umberto. It's Not typical to have two systems like this that are both trying to intensify, this close together. At the same time, we have, fronts coming through off the mid-Atlantic. You've got some upper level low pressure across the southeast. So honestly, the pattern is very, very, I don't want to say chaotic, but it's complex. There's a lot going on out there right now. Not only, in the tropics, but also even across the southeast and the mid-Atlantic. So trying to figure out how all this is going to play out, that's where the complexity comes in, and we'll try to basically walk through that. So what we'll do here to start out with, we'll just start with the Hurricane Center's website, just kind of showing you there. Umberto, well-defined, is tropical storm. It is forecast to intensify. We'll talk about that. In the area of invest here over Puerto Rico, that is also expected to maybe become a little bit better organized and become maybe potentially even a name system as it moves up somewhere through the Bahamas and somewhere eventually maybe off the southeast U.S. coast, maybe even coming up potentially into the mid-Atlantic. So we'll talk about that. So here's the actual forecast for Umberto as it stands right now. So it is forecast to become a hurricane. I think there's pretty decent confidence in what's going to happen with Umberto to some degree. Could eventually become a major hurricane, and so that's kind of going to be an interesting player. Having a major hurricane out here in the tropical part here of the Atlantic south of Bermuda, but then you're going to have Invest 94 just to the west. So how those two systems interact with each other, how dominant maybe Umberto becomes, and maybe hurts 94, or does 94 kind of do its own thing? That's kind of one of the big major questions here. So, but you're going to have a major hurricane here with Umberto to the east of what would be, basically Invest 94. By Monday, it could even be a tropical storm or even a weak hurricane in its own right up to the west here. So we'll talk about that. So very, very complicated situation, but there's pretty good confidence with Umberto. This is kind of looking at the model ensemble. So if you had to take all the different model tracks with Umberto and throw them into a blender, this shows you a heat map that kind of overlays those tracks. And so, when you have these bright greens and yellows, this is the most likely area that we're expecting Umberto to track. And of course, NHC's forecast is right. That's what they're looking at too, this cluster here. Now, how far west Umberto gets, next week, I'd say, Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe, how far west the system swings, you start to see some of these, guidance that's, maybe splits the difference here in the darker blue between Bermuda and Hatteras. Obviously, the further west it swings, the more wind we'll have next week, which is why you saw in the marine forecast, those northeast winds may be gusting up to about, 35, 36 knots at the Capes and then over the coastal waters. So the closer this thing swings to the coast, obviously the more impact we're going to have from it. So we'll have to kind of watch out for that a little bit. And that's not really until that I'd say late Monday night, but Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe as this thing's trying to recurve around. So, but still some good confidence, as far as this system will stay offshore. It's just a matter of how close it comes to us to give us a little bit of wind. So that was kind of focusing on Umberto over here. We'll shift gears now and we'll kind of go over here and talk about the Invest 94 and what may happen with that system. That's the one that could come a little bit closer to us. So I'm going to do a little bit deeper dive into the models here. This is looking at the GFS. This is the GFS ensemble. So again, it's all the little lines you see are all the different runs of the GFS. And of course, the colors represent where there's more confidence, where there's a consolidation of those tracks. And so the blue line represents the operational GFS, which is kind of going out on its own thing, where the black line represents the average of all the GFS models. So what you see immediately out of the gate is the operational GFS, which kind of brings it up and curves it west, is an outlier from most of the other GFS ensembles. So that's how we kind of look at these things. So look at the greens, the areas in greens and dark blues. That's what we're going to have to watch out for. That's where we could see the system go with probably the more confidence. But the main thing you notice here is once you get in the northern Bahamas, and I'd say, due east of Daytona Beach, you lose all those bright yellows and you lose the oranges. So the confidence really starts to decrease. The further north you go with 94 in the GFS, the less confidence there is. You don't have those brighter colors anymore, meaning the models are just scattering this thing all over the place. They don't really necessarily know what to do with it. Some models kind of weaken this thing as Umberto becomes more dominant. Some models do try to intensify this thing, some versions of it, and drift it a little further north. So we'll see. You don't see a lot of guidance bringing it up to Southeast Virginia. Some of the stuff may come close. Maybe it kind of works its way into Carolinas here, could bring us some rain and some wind, but we'll see. So that's just looking at the GFS version of this. So switch it over, and we'll look at the European version. So this is the European ensembles, very similar to the GFS, the way it runs, but a little bit different scenario. You see a little bit more confidence here in the European ensemble that the system might make it a little bit closer to the southeast North Carolina coast here, a little bit more of the green highlights. You do notice, you do lose the dark yellows and the oranges the further north you go. So there's still a little bit of spread in the models here. The operational European, taking this thing into Charleston, that's kind of an outlier right now, where the average, notice how the average actually stalls it out down here. So there's a chance that the thing could come down, somewhere off the southeast U.S. coast, could stall, could dance around. Again, there's still, once you get, I'd say, east of Savannah, east of Jacksonville, Florida, in this area here, it becomes less confidence in exactly what's going to happen with this system. But you do see the Euro does try to bring a few more potential tracks, into southeast North Carolina. So we'll see. Could bring us again some wind and some rain from that. So that's why we're kind of stay tuned here. Let's look at the wind fields, and kind of see how this might play out. So this is what we're looking at here. Is we're taking the European, the GFS models, we're basically like putting them in the blender and mashing them together, and we're coming up with the statistics, basically analysis of what the wind fields might look like. And so this is Friday morning. You definitely see Umberto here to the east, a much better defined system. You see what's Invest 94 here to the west, and we'll just kind of move this ahead in time here a little bit. Let me see, I just move it ahead with the dots here. So we'll just kind of step this thing ahead, and you'll see this wind field with 94 to the west, working its way up the coast, kind of moving, staying offshore. The question becomes, in here, when you get into Sunday, how well defined is this system? Is it most of the guidance suggests that the Invest 94 could be a tropical storm in the next 48 hours. So by Sunday for sure. I mean, today's Thursday, so maybe even by Saturday, this system could be a tropical storm at that point. We'll see. But you see Umberto to the west being a much bigger, a much well-defined system. So how much these two interact, there's a lot to try to work out there. And the models, that's why you see a lot of spread in the models. These two may be kind of fighting each other. But moving it ahead in time, we get in here into about Monday morning. You see a little bit of northeast wind. I'll zoom in a little bit on us. You see a little bit of a northeast wind increasing, but not bad. You're talking maybe about 20, 25 miles per hour on Monday. Nothing too serious. Continuing in here to Monday afternoon, Monday evening, you're seeing a lot of spread in the models. But no matter what, with the high pressure to the north and maybe in Invest 94 somewhere here, to the southeast, you're still getting a good offshore easterly flow here. So you can kind of see maybe an east wind here about 20, 25 miles an hour, could be gusting up to 30 with that northeast wind. And so that's kicking in late Monday night and into Tuesday. So that's when we could be starting to feel some of the effects from what could be in 94 with those winds kind of coming up the coast. Nothing looks extreme. We could start to see a little bit of minor tidal flooding issues there for Tuesday with that northeast wind. It may not be even too bad. I could even see some precipitation. We'll talk about that, but that doesn't look like anything too extreme. As you continue to move forward in time, those northeast winds persist, and you do see the northeast winds increasing. And part of that really is now due to the fact that you could have a pretty strong hurricane in Umberto here, coming in from the southeast, and you have strong high pressure to the north. So what's happening here, if you have to put it in perspective, you're in a pretty strong low pressure with Umberto here off the southeast U.S., but you have really strong high pressure just north of the Great Lakes. So we end up getting caught in a squeeze play between these two systems. So as Umberto kind of tracks offshore, that pressure gradient tightens right across the mid-Atlantic, and we get that persistent northeast wind that is going to increase. It's going to pick up on us because of that pressure gradient. So as we move into time, this is Tuesday afternoon. This is getting us into Tuesday evening. But you'll notice on Wednesday, you start to even see some potential oranges showing up here. So maybe some wind gusts, getting up. This is showing you maybe some winds get up to about maybe 40, 42 miles an hour. Just offshore or right along the ocean front. So just a good stiff northeast wind. It could actually introduce more tidal flooding as we get into Wednesday, and especially Wednesday night. And the core of the winds, though, with Umberto, you see are well offshore here. I'm going to shift to the east, well to the east over here. And you continue to kind of move it in time, and it does look like the winds eventually do kind of decrease here as you push into Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we could see some pretty good winds. So bottom line is we could be, because AL 94 may be start moving up the coast, we might see some impacts from that. If it, even if it stays just to our south, we'll still get an east wind from it, but nothing too extreme. And then as Umberto goes by, you're definitely going to see that the winds may be increasing with that pressure gradient. So long persistent northeast winds, maybe some tidal flooding. We've already got some of the winds here in the forecast. This is showing you the winds there at Cape Henry that we're starting to capture. You already saw that. So keep an eye on the wind forecast there. They may be having to be bumped up in time, especially for Tuesday and Wednesday. Rainfall wise, this is kind of doing the same thing we saw with the wind, mashing all of the European and GFS models together and trying to get an idea of the rainfall. So this is obviously for today. So we're going to speed through today and we'll speed through tomorrow. You will see Saturday kind of shows up more rain that Carissa was talking about. And you're seeing the slugger rain maybe offshore too. Maybe as the tropical system gets better defined to the south, you might see some tropical plume of moisture kind of setting up along or just off the Carolina coast. But Saturday definitely looks wetter everywhere. And then we have to figure out what happens. You kind of see, the rainfall plume there setting up for Monday. And then the question here is right here from Monday morning and into Monday afternoon. This would be the AL 94, the Invest 94. So does that throw some extra moisture up our way, basically for Monday? It could. We'll see what happens here. This is showing maybe, a good inch and a half of rain over the course of 24 hours. So that's kind of a big question mark. So again, you could see a pretty wet, Saturday. This is getting us back into a Saturday right here. We get some good rain across the area. This is our Sunday morning. We may get a little bit of a break and then it comes back in maybe for Monday. So stay tuned. We're going to have to watch this moisture plume here. And see if that does feed north there Monday into Tuesday. You can see quite a bit of precipitation from that. And eventually you do notice it dries out. The rate precipitation, does kind of decrease. And then you have Umberto passing well offshore with this huge slugger rain out here to the east. So we'll watch out for that rainfall trend, see what happens early next week if we're able to get some of the remnant tropical moisture up here. I thought I'd go through the wave heights too, just really quickly for some of our marine partners if they're on. So this is actually nothing really going on right now. This is actually for this morning, wave height wise. So we'll just kind of keep stepping this on ahead in time. And you start to see the waves maybe starting to build north. It looks like they start to get to Hatteras by maybe Saturday night. We're starting to see, let me scroll down so you can see the legend. That brighter green, maybe you're getting into 9 to 10 foot seas, just out there over the Gulf Stream. Let me see if I can get this set. So you can see, there you go. And so continue to move this in ahead in time. When the bigger waves actually start to wrap around and maybe start to get towards the CB buoy or starting to approach the Capes, this is getting into Monday night. So that's when we'll have to watch out to see, you're starting to get some bigger waves, maybe 10 to 12 feet, starting to kind of wrap around and starting to make their way up, maybe off of a Southeast Virginia coast. Maybe even making it into the Capes. I'd say definitely by maybe Tuesday morning. This is Monday night. So if I'm moving on ahead, you kind of see here by Tuesday morning, we're starting to see some pretty good seas starting to wrap in. So it's going to be partially dependent upon how well defined, Invest 94 becomes, but then you're going to have this major hurricane out here as well, pushing these bigger swells up. So we may be in pretty good shape as far as bigger seas are concerned until I'd say Monday night, and then through Tuesday. Seas should really build by Tuesday morning. And of course, the system's going to be going by us, and we could see some big seas getting kicked back from that system, from Umberto as it goes by. But yeah, so we're looks like sea-wise, we're in pretty good shape. Like I said, this is getting into about Monday evening right there, Monday night, where those seas do start to kind of make their way up here. So I thought I'd hit on that. And that's really all we have. We're going to be doing these live briefings every day at 11 for the next several days, all the way through the weekend, because the situation is changing. The forecast could change literally with every model run. So we're going to have to see how this plays out. And so we'll be here again tomorrow at 11, and we'll also be here on Saturday and Sunday and Monday doing these 11 o'clock live briefings in addition to the email briefings. So with that, I'll toss it back over to you, Carissa, to see if there's any questions.